Hi, my name is Bruce Burke. Welcome to the Bullet Point Bulletins weekly wrap-up show. I'm here with my friend and co-host Tedd Huff of Fintech Confidential. Fintech Confidential also happens to be the sponsor of today's episode. Bullet Point Bulletins currently has some limited sponsorship opportunities for both short form and some long form hyper-focused videos that we're going to be doing shortly. If you're interested in any of those opportunities, please just reach out to me directly on any of my social media channels. My handle right here on YouTube is Bruce Burke. You can reach me in the comments down below. Now I'm going to send it over to Tedd. So, Tedd, can you please tell the audience what we're going to be discussing on the show today?
Bruce, I cannot believe it is the end of the year. We're at the first week of December. How did we get here? Well, one of the things that we had, I know. But, this week has been really interesting. We've had good and bad things pop up. We're really starting to see how things are shaking out. But we have BlockFi declaring bankruptcy. We talked a little bit about that last week. We have Apple blocking Coinbase from sending NFTs. We have the Bitcoin family moving assets around. Telegram has decided to build a crypto wallet and a DEX. Stripe did a blog post talking about how they're doing a fiat-to-crypto on-ramp. Man, there's just lots of stuff still going on, and we're coming to the end of the year when the holidays, when you typically see a bunch of slowdown.
I think there's, like you said, there's a lot going on, and that's kind of what I would like to kind of focus on is, with BlockFi, they declared the bankruptcy, and then they turned around and they sued Sam for some stuff that he used as collateral on a loan, saying that didn't exist. So, but it seems like the whole thing is like changing. So what do you see going on, Tedd?
Yeah, despite all these events that are going on, I personally still remain very excited about blockchain's underlying prospects for innovation. And in the market, they're maintaining a fundamental optimism about how crypto can help facilitate a more globally accessible financial services ecosystem. And we're going to see a number of these things continue to happen. You're going to see the guys that were very cowboy about it, didn't think that they needed to have a bunch of policies and procedures, things in place to protect that you've had in your typical financial ecosystem. You're going to see those guys start to falter a little bit. And the ones that played a little fast and loose, like FTX. BlockFi was a little bit less like FTX, but they put a lot of eggs in the FTX basket. So anybody that put a lot of eggs in FTX, you're going to see a lot of stuff going on. But you have a few others as well. So anybody that over leveraged stuff, you're going to see a lot of falter. But with that being said, there are so many other good things that are going on. And I think people are really starting to learn more about this. And, this happens with everything. It happened in the .com bust. It happened with the 2008 mortgage thing. We did this with banks failing. Lehman Brothers, right? So this isn't just crypto. This is what happens in all finance and all technology. People go Wild West and they push the boundaries. They break something. Then we come back and we go, okay, how can we make it better? I think we're at that point right now where it's, how do we make this better? We see the use cases for this, but how do we make it better and make sure that everybody is treated fairly in this zero trust environment?
From my point of view in this, it seems like, okay, these cowboys came in, right? And they saddled up their horses and they, packed their saddlebags and went screaming out across the West and made up all these new concepts and took some existing technologies, like blockchain and, some of the other stuff, the layers over, the knowledge graph, that kind of stuff. And they kind of sewed some new concepts together, right? From all these pieces that they kind of picked up and they put some new concepts out there. But what it seems like is they went out and they did their thing and they came up with their alternative currencies and stuff. But now the feds have taken the the frameworks that they established, that the Cowboys established, and are now implementing it, but in a governmental kind of way, right? And using it for something totally different than the crypto guys were using it for. And so, from my point of view, this weekend, if I ever build $1 billion company and it crashes to the ground, I want to go get the guys who are putting out the fire for Sam, right? Whoever is doing his media right now, I got to have them, right? Because this guy is, unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it seems like this week is, let's kind of pivot a little bit, right? And now let's kind of go in this direction. This is where we're going to focus now in crypto, right? And this is the way forward. And, all that centralization stuff maybe wasn't such a good idea because we started with the promise of being decentralized, right?
Yeah. And, one of the things that you mentioned is that the regulators have started to look at this. And honestly, in just about any type of regulated environment, you have to have something collapse. I mean, Enron, Lehman Brothers, you look at that, and what that does is it establishes, like you mentioned, the framework that everybody can build off of. And so now they were struggling to figure out how to define crypto. Is it an asset? Is it a security? Is it a commodity? What is it? And I think what this has really done is really started to put things in boxes. We as humans like to categorize things, right? So I think it started to help them put things in these little boxes, which is really going to help folks like BlockFi come out of bankruptcy a lot stronger. Because I think they're going to come out of bankruptcy, and I think they're going to have a little bit more framework around that. But one of the things that that is going to start to come out of that, with I'm going to move on to the next story with Apple blocking Coinbase Wallet from sending NFTs. The way they were approaching it was from the traditional perspective and thinking of it from a traditional sale, a traditional e-commerce sale perspective. And really, they're going to have to rethink how they're handling this. Because if you're not able to transfer NFTs through a mobile wallet that's on an Apple device without getting hit with the 30% Apple tax on the entire amount, even if the entire amount isn't revenue generated, it's going to have a really bad experience. And I would not be surprised if Coinbase goes down the route of Audible. So if you try and buy a book on Audible on an Apple device, you're not able to buy the Audible book on the Apple device with money. But if you have a credit that has been pre-purchased on Audible, you're able to use that one credit, because it's not cash, it will use that one credit to purchase that audiobook. So I wouldn't be surprised if Coinbase starts to try and figure out, how do I create, and the funny part is that we start to turn into, what if it's a Coinbase coin credit system, right? And I'm just purely speculating on this, but
yeah,
if Apple's not going to play, and if Apple's not going to change, and they're not going to look at it, people are going to find ways around it. Unfortunately.
Well, this story is really an extension of the story that Apple just, I think just a week prior, this is actually the first company like kind of challenging it. A week prior is when Apple issued all new rulings concerning pretty much cryptocurrencies in the App Store, right? I mean, I didn't cover it in Bullet Point Bulletins episode, but it was a story that I put out across the social media channels. And they had said that, we are not going to take payments in cryptocurrency. We have no interest in cryptocurrency. App Store does not accept cryptocurrency as payments. There was a lot of things surrounding it. So this is this, I feel, is very much similar to Fortnite, where, hey, this is our currency that we run on, our app, right? And, we need you to kind of like let our currency kind of work like your currency, but like it's not, and you don't understand, they kind of sound like a teenager where, they're like, you don't understand, Dad,
You don't
that kind of thing. But it's, yeah, you hate me. You want to destroy my life, Dad. You just don't understand. But they,
do you think that has anything to do?
What they're saying is, this is a gas fee. This isn't fiat currency. This is a gas fee. And this gas fee, whether they're marking it up or not marking it up, is only to move the object from A to B, right? That's all this is.
Yeah. So I don't remember the timing of all this, right? So kind of help me out with the timing of when Apple made the announcement of the changes. Has it been like
maybe 2 weeks ago at the very latest? It was actually on their if you go to the Apple News blog on the Apple News site, it was a press release there. They laid down new rules on cryptocurrency. If I try to go back through Facebook or LinkedIn to find it, it was new. They revamped their payment store rules and regulations, their app store payment rules and regulations, and a lot of it was updated to include cryptocurrency. They didn't state it as cryptocurrency, I think, in the title of the press release, but it was in there, definitely. That may not still be there, but I think I actually posted the article directly from the Apple website, what I did.
Okay. Well, and here's so reason why I asked that question, right, is could this be Apple's way of trying to distance themselves, and especially Coinbase, because Coinbase is a centralized wallet with a centralized exchange, central. They have their own coin. They have their own, like,
kind of like a walled garden kind of a thing, right?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, what I'm seeing and what I'm this is just my perspective, but are they trying to figure out how to protect themselves from being involved in another FTX like situation and saying, we don't even allow this behavior to happen on.
They are into eat your vegetables kind of a thing, right? They are into, Apple is very big into stating its values, right? And saying what they're about. And, so, my thing is, if they've said many times that they're really not interested in cryptocurrency, Tim said that in interviews and whatnot. If they were interested in cryptocurrency, I think we would have seen an Apple coin 5 years ago. They would have been ahead of the pack in this, right? But it's the Wild West days, so Apple's not going to be involved, right? Just like in the Wild West days, the early Wild West days, JP Morgan was like, we're not involved, right? But now JP Morgan is going all in on blockchain and tokens and all kinds of stuff. Not your NFTs and your, crypto punks and that stuff, but they're all in on the, let's call it the adult crypto. So it's interesting that Apple hasn't issued a coin, and really the only way that you can put cash into the Apple ecosystem is still to go to either online or a physical store and buy an Apple gift card.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think
that's
about
really
it that
the only
way
way you can get cash into the Apple ecosystem. Really.
Yeah, that's interesting that you're not able to get any other cash. I mean, you have the Apple Cash Card.
Yeah, but that's only being funded by your spending of the Apple Card. That you're, or if somebody sends you Apple Cash from their account to your account.
But doesn't it also, aren't you able to connect a bank? I thought you were able to connect a bank account to that as well. So if you were to deposit cash into a bank account, then connect the Apple Cash to your bank account. So you have, it's really convoluted. It's not super simple.
They want to keep including the card partners in their platform because of the value of a card partner, obviously, right? The Goldman Sachs, the MasterCard, the Apple Cash card now is an American Express. It's not a Visa anymore, I believe, is what happened this last year, right?
Yeah, they did change. Well, they changed branding. I think it's still MasterCard, but it's a MasterCard Cash card, but it's really complicated. The credit card and the cash card are not connected. One's a pure debit card, one's a credit card. It's a really janky scenario.
They are intertwined a little bit, though. You can say if you have a balance on your Apple Cash card, you can, when you go to pay your monthly bill, you can say any balance that I have on this Apple Cash card apply to my monthly Apple card bill.
Right, but what you're not able to do is you're not able to use the Apple. It's a really convoluted thing. I mean, so I covered a little bit of this and how it has some deficiencies in my interview with Adam Spencer of Vital Card, and he goes into a lot of good detail on the difference between how the Apple Cash card and the Apple credit card and the deficiencies and how you can't cross-pollinate them. And you also can't start with a cash card, show good behavior, and get moved over to a credit card. So there's really, it's really bifurcated, and yeah, you can use it to pay, but there's a real big separation. What I also did here just a second ago, as we were sitting here talking, I wanted to pull up the Apple. So Bloomberg did a story on this. So I'm going to pull this up here real quick.
Maybe that was the story. And now that you're saying Bloomberg, maybe it was Bloomberg.
Yeah. So yes. I just put it up on the screen. So Bloomberg issued new store, mentioned this in the article, new store rules. And the big one that really is this first bullet here. The crypto exchange apps need to have necessary regional licenses. That's a big, to me, that's them protecting themselves against FTX and all these other things, right? They're just saying, hey, yeah,
we're not interested.
This is no guns allowed in the saloon rule here.
Yep.
We're still in the Wild West, but no guns allowed in the saloon. And then the second one here, the NFT sales have to go through Apple's in-purchase system. That one there is you got to pay for your drink before drinking it. So yeah,
2 drink minimum. And it's a 2 drink minimum.
Right.
30%, right? 2 drink minimum, same thing.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the piece that I was thinking you were kind of going after, but now after looking at this, it totally makes a lot of sense.
So and these guys, the Coinbase, they're the first ones to challenge this. Now, there's several other variables of this. I mean, these are the bullet points, but there's some other fine nuances. These are the big key points of this.
Yeah.
But this is the first challenge. Mark my word. Just like Fortnite, this is the first challenge, and there's going to be more people trying to challenge their app store thing more ways. But you see that your boy Tim Cook is taking his guns and he's going out on the road, and anybody who starts screaming about Apple and starts screaming about, App Store, and they're holding us all hostage, and they have too much control over, that portion of, the internet, and like Elon did. All of a sudden, Elon's out there at Cupertino, right? Tim is a very good influencer and a great CEO to take these matters into his own hand personally and make this stuff happen. I'm sure there's a lot of handlers that set up the whole, meeting. I'm sure it wasn't Tim like, hey, Elon, why don't you stop by, grab your jet and come on by. I'm sure it wasn't like that, but I'm sure when that started going off, they're like, we got to fix this. We got to stop this now. This guy's got a platform and millions of people are seeing this, right?
Yeah.
So they're being challenged on a lot of fronts. I mean, Fortnite, Coinbase, Elon, and anybody who all of a sudden isn't happy with, the great promotion and distribution of their app that Apple's been giving them all these years and all the fantastic services and everything else, and they don't want to pay that 30%, everybody starts screaming, but is it time to kind of reconsider?
I think that everybody is struggling. Like right now, everybody's trying to figure out how to generate additional recurring revenue. Apple's no different, right? So they're really trying to tighten it down and really trying to control their ecosystem, because they've been very protective of their ecosystem since the day that the iPhone came out, right? Yep. There were no third-party developers on the iPhone until after almost 2 years did they open up developer toolkits. So they've always been very protective of their ecosystem, and I don't think anything is going to change with that. But I do think that you're going to see them have to modify the way that they're working in the marketplace.
I'm pulling up the my notes from the bulletin episode about this, because I wanted to bring up the statement, the developers behind the Coinbase Wallet. So first, did they see these rules and then start going out to develop this capability and to challenge it? Whose idea was this at Coinbase, right, to start going down this thing, right? Did it happen after the fact, or were they already doing it and Apple saw that they were kind of doing it and got out ahead of them? But the developers at Coinbase said that Apple has introduced, and this is the term I was looking for, profit protecting policies that come at the expense of the developer innovation. I'm sorry, I'm going to start it from the top. Developers behind the app say that Apple has introduced profit protecting policies. That's great for your pop filter on your microphone there. And that they come at the expense of developer innovation across the crypto ecosystem. So profit protecting policies, right? So the question really is, did Apple get out ahead of them? Did they see this coming? Or did these guys embark on this journey after the rules had been changed? Yeah.
So here's what, and I'm going to say my perspective. Here's what I think happened. I think they updated their apps so you could do NFT transfers. They submitted the app to the App Store. It got denied. Apple saw what they were doing. They decided to rewrite the rules. They update the rules. And then they tell them that the app it isn't going to get approved. That's what I see happening. Because
that's probably because how long it takes to get them to one, look at it once you've uploaded it, two, to approve it, right? I mean, it's a process.
An existing app goes relatively quickly. It's like 7 days. And I know that's funny that I say relatively quickly, but a brand new app can take up to 30 days to be reviewed, because they're reviewing.
Coinbase Wallet is a pretty Coinbase Wallet to include the NFTs. That's something very recent that they started within the last 6 months. They started doing the NFTs. They weren't doing that before that. That's when I was on my NFT tirade for a while there, and then.
And I even mentioned on the crypto DeFi Web3 channel and Telegram for Fintech Confidential, I even brought up, why we even had to have NFTs. And I know you've gone back and forth on it, but there's a reason why we had to have NFTs, and I think NFTs are going to be a big piece, and they're going to evolve over the next few years. But I think we're going to see a lot of changes with the way Apple and the way Coinbase and others are doing this. But I think the big piece is that the centralization of all of these assets is really starting to dissolve. And a good point around that is our next story, which is the Bitcoin family. They've moved $1 million into decentralized exchanges after what happened with FTX. I'd love for you to, I'm going to pop up an article, but I'd love for you to just kind of go through what you thought when you were reading through the articles and making the post for Bullet Point Bulletins.
Okay. One thing I would like to point out, regulators, federal regulators, the fact that the industry is now refocusing and now kind of going on a different path, watch where they're going now, and maybe you can kind of get out ahead of them and have the regulations in place before they complete what they're going after. So, it seems like now that the focus is shifted. Regulators, pay attention. They shifted their focus. Maybe you should shift your focus too. Yes, you have to still look at what just happened, but there's new things going on, and there's a shift in sentiment. So anyway, on to Didi here, who's a very charismatic guy, by the way. I've seen the family mentioned, and I've heard of him prior to there was a big CNBC article that kind of sparked it, and then everybody reported on it. He just moved to Thailand, Phuket, and the whole family moved there, and because of local regulations and whatnot, or lack of them, I guess, is why he's there. But he's him and CZ and a couple others, even Sam, kind of are all kind of saying, "Hey guys, centralization's not where we started out, and it's not where you should be. And if you want to be protected, one, move to a decentralized wallet, or even further to a hardware wallet like Ngrave, like what we talked about last week, or any of the other solutions." And he's in the process of moving. Right here it says is moving $1 million in crypto assets to the protocol following the FTX. He said outright in the interview, and then he did a post story video yesterday that I attached to a couple of the posts that I did, where he talked about it at length. His thing is, if you don't have the keys to your coins, they're not your coins. Somebody else is holding the keys to your coins. And the other thing he said is,
not your keys, not your crypto.
Yeah, it doesn't belong to you. And the other thing he said is, it's always been about freedom to me. He said that he didn't have any exposure. He didn't have any FTX. He didn't have any of this. He didn't have any of that. Apparently he's got some other investments, but mostly he's a Bitcoin maximalist. And he seems to think that this is actually showing the resiliency of Bitcoin, despite the market generally is kind of depressed, right? Because of all the action, a lot of people jumped out, a lot of people got scared, right? Yeah, every market is depressed. But he's saying, this kind of showed the resiliency of Bitcoin, and this kind of showed that this is the real true cryptocurrency, right? This is the OG, right? And I still believe in it. And I bought it at 6,000 and it's still 17. So, and I sold a bunch and I bought a bunch and I sold a bunch and I bought a bunch, and who knows what he's got. He's not saying, right. And, is his life idyllic? He's taken the family on a world tour, but he's only going to countries he can go to. That's kind of scary for me, right? I wouldn't do that sort of thing. But he's a lot younger man than I am, and he's a lot more. But he looks at this thing as freedom. He says in the article, and it may be a little further down, that he says, I think that Bitcoin should be free, and I should have the freedom to do it, and everybody all around the world should have to do it without having to do any of that KYC or other regulatory stuff, was a direct quote from him. Nobody should have to do any of that regulatory stuff. So, yes, no, I mean...
It depends. I mean, realistically, it was designed to be zero trust, right? So you don't have to trust anybody. And I think that's really where he's coming from. But one of the things I found interesting in this is that we're talking about them moving $1 million of crypto assets to DEX protocol. So basically getting it off of centralized services, right? But if you look further down here, that in November 2022, just a month ago, not even a month ago, they did explain on CNBC that they keep 73% of their stuff in cold storage. So this is a device that has no internet access, that has no way to do it until you connect the two to an exchange. So they were already managing it the way that you should manage crypto. So that's a big
He had a little
piece.
exposure. He said that the article said that it was in 4 different vaults on 4 different continents, 7 to 73%. Now, I don't know if it's complete 73%, but let's say it's 70%. You know,
But this, so when you say cold storage, so this is something I want to be super clear about. Cold storage means it is not anywhere other than in your pocket on a hardware device. It doesn't mean that it's on an exchange. It doesn't mean it's on a server somewhere. It means that it's on a physical piece of hardware that without the seed phrase, you can do nothing with. It is gone. Like if that seed phrase disappears, that's gone forever.
that's the reason I can't get into my MetaMask account. I don't know what the seed phrase is anymore.
Oh my goodness.
I have no clue.
And we talked about that last week. And if you want to look at different types of wallets and all that fun stuff, I've got that also posted in the Telegram channel for Fintech Confidential and our Bitcoin, Web3, and blockchain channel. So we've got a list of those in there. So if you want to go back and look at that, we'll also drop that down here in the show notes as well. But hey, we've talked about this one quite a bit. Let's hop in to the next one. Speaking of Telegram, so Telegram decided to build their own crypto wallet and DEX. So Bruce, kind of give us the lowdown on what you found as you were posting for the Bullet Point Bulletins.
Well, what's his name? Durov, the CEO, he is pointing to the success of this, what's it called, Fragment, which is essentially licensing Telegram usernames. I went to try and go to Fragment from here in the good USA, and it says, hey, you can't go here from there. We're not allowing you to go to Fragment and from the good old USA. So I know that, you know, he's from former Soviet Union countries are his main customers, apparently on Telegram. It's very popular there. But apparently $50 million of Telegram usernames sold in 1 month for Fragment, through Fragment. And then the open network, which is the blockchain that supports Fragment, TON they call it, is what he started, and now he's pointing to the success of that, and he's saying, I'm already starting to go down this other road in addition to Telegram, and now I'm going to create this, you know, hardware wallet, another Engrave or somebody else, and then also a decentralized exchange. So everybody's reiterating the same thing: decentralize. Let's decentralize. Let's decentralize. Right. So I think he's on the right path. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so I guess I'm just looking at it this way. Everybody's trying to figure out how to help everybody connect, right? So the whole idea of Web3 is to be decentralized and to create communities, like to create a community around things, to get everybody connected, to make sure that you can trust the interface you're working with. I know that sounds funny after us talking about FTX, but being able to trust those who are in there, right? And so I think with the collapse of FTX, there is a renewed sense of we've got to bring this back to the decentralized experience that it was meant to be. And so there's this reinvigoration around that and really doing it. And everybody's doing it a little bit different, right? So I just highlighted this here in the article. Kind of, you're talking about Fragment, you're talking about Ton. Sorry. We've got that going. There's a lot of stuff.
He's also built the TON has a foundation also, and I'm guessing there's a DAO surrounding that and all that. Mm-hmm. And in addition to what CZ's done with his crypto recovery fund, I think it was 26 million. I remember typing the number as 25 and then correcting myself. So I think it was 26 million that they've garnered up to start, helping some companies that are kind of under due to FTX and that sort of thing. Now, I don't think that's going to be anywhere. They're not going to get anywhere near the number that.
So I'm going to reshare this article.
Yeah.
I'm going to reshare this article because the piece that you're talking about is definitely on here. So, and I highlighted it. It says the foundation announced a $126 million rescue fund. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. 126, yeah. I can't remember everything.
so keep in mind is that, dude, I love Telegram. I do so much on there. But you can see they have over 700 million active users as of June this year.
Yeah.
And yes, it is popular in Soviet Union, but it has become super popular here in the U.S. too.
Oh, yeah. I use it. You use it, as we all know. My thing with this is they haven't said yet whether this hardware wallet and the decentralized exchange are going to be built on the open network, whether they're going to use that blockchain to build it or whether he's going to start a whole different blockchain just for that. Why they haven't said that is the mystery to me. Like, why haven't they announced that?
Because they're probably still trying to figure out the way that they're going to make it work and make it scalable, right? So if you look at folks like Cardano, they have multiple coins, they have multiple DEX, they have multiple, like there's multiple things, right, for different uses. It's not about having and this is the big thing that I hope that people can take away with this. It's not about having one centralized system that everybody uses. It's about having a centralized
the Mark Zuckerberg
system.
model is not what Web3 is about.
Right.
It's more Web3 is more like what Jack's trying to do with Blue Sky that we talked about, about a month ago, right? His idea is more Web3 oriented. Like, let's build a platform where everybody can build on that platform, but everybody can come there. And as long as they're all using the same API and we're all using the same standards, we can all intercommunicate and interpolate and all kinds of stuff, So
I think the biggest piece that we have to look at is that the one of the major benefits of blockchain is being able to have a utilitarian purpose to deliver, control, and manage data securely in a zero trust environment. That does not mean that we're all in the same zero trust environment. It can be hyper focused into it. So you may have a single blockchain that is being used to track, and I'm going to go back to one of our guests and speakers at the Pay conference, right? So they were talking about, and I apologize, she's going to kill me for forgetting her name. And I even did an interview with her. But her company was focused on building out the blockchain for
Pamela.
Yes.
Last name begins with an N. I'll think of it in a minute.
Norton. Was it Norton?
Pamela Norton.
Yeah.
Pamela Norton.
Yeah. So like they were working with the federal government to track parts on aircraft for military aircraft. That's a great use case because it's highly sensitive stuff that you don't want to get in the wrong hands. You want to make sure you're tracking it from the manufacturer to the time that it goes to the graveyard. And so that's a great use case. And I think we're going to start
certification
to see
of a thing and the sum of its parts, right? I mean,
exactly.
Here's $1 million aircraft, and each individual screw is certified and serialized and blockchained, and when a screw is removed and a new one's put in, that block will be removed from the chain, and it'll be blocked out, and the new screw will be there.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, and that's where it needs to be. That's what that's why companies like Huawei got shut out of the U.S. Because there was concerns and those kinds of things. Hardware reaching its way into the inner security of an aircraft, that could be fatal, very fatal. All it takes is one piece.
Yeah, you don't want a rogue piece of hardware getting plugged into the systems, accessing it. So just look at, and I'm just looking at it this way. So all of the diagnostic equipment, if you use a blockchain to authenticate, how are you going to be able to get a hacking type device in if it has to validate on the chain? If you have to validate that on the chain, then how? And it's just it's going to be nearly impossible. But we're talking about the blockchain. We're talking about crypto. We're talking about Web3. We've talked about NFTs. We've talked about decentralized. Like, we've got all these things going on. So one of the things that you didn't cover in the bullet point bulletins, but one of the things that I covered in the Telegram channel was Stripe deciding to announce an embeddable and customizable fiat to crypto on-ramp. This is something I find super interesting. I'm going to pull up the article while we go through it, but I'd love to kind of get your thoughts as I pull up the article, Bruce, of what does this mean to the broader ecosystem?
Well, I think in the big picture, right? The big picture is Stripe is now a major player globally due to its one line of code that you can implement and essentially have a checkout experience on whatever your gizmo is, right? Whether it's a web, whether it's an app, whether it's this, whether it's that, right? Stripe can essentially, put you together. But with this, now they're doing this with 10 lines of code. And this does apparently your KYC, it does your AML, it does it does your laundry, it makes you lunch, it handles the payment with, I think it was 67 different countries. I don't know if that's all in and all out. Some of them probably limit whether it's in or out, but 67 different countries with all those capabilities built in from 10 lines of code, apparently.
Yeah, and I put this up on the screen here is the 10 lines of code that they talk about, right? But what this is meant to do is that they're taking all of the stuff that they learned in Web 2, and they're saying, how can we make the Web 3 experience seamless like we did with the Web 2? How do we get people onboarded fast and easy like we did in Web 2? How do we enable the builders of wallets, of DEX, of other NFT marketplace, digital assets, all of these different things? How do we give them the tools to protect themselves, whether it be KYC, which is know your customer, AML, which is anti-money laundering, whether it's validating bank accounts or convert and validating credit cards, then converting and doing the on-ramp from that fiat into the crypto afterwards, after validating all that information. And then the other side of it is being able to move that money back and forth, move the crypto throughout the ecosystem. And then last but not least, be able to use that crypto to purchase those digital assets and other items. So I think it's
but the
really
big overarching question in this is how do we get there first before everybody else into a market that has absolutely zero regulation as to how much we can charge to onboard, crypto to fiat, that's these people are going to be raking in the money. I mean, there's virtually, again, regulators. Take a look at this, pay attention, this is a whole new field this is trillions of dollars, Ted. This is absolutely trillions of dollars.
Yeah, but so I guess I kind of look at it differently, right? So I think they're seeing and they're looking, and I'm relatively certain that they're looking at all the bills that are out on Capitol Hill around regulatory. And they're seeing some of the things that people are saying around this. They're not a small company. They've got lobbyists in there for them, right?
Oh, yeah.
But what they're doing is they're looking at it as like, okay, so how do we take the regulatory environment that exists today and how do we bring that into Web3 and how do we make that on-ramp process follow the existing regulatory if we were just doing from credit card from one fiat to another fiat? How do we bring fiat on and then get fiat off? Yep. And what they're doing is they're applying the same rules to crypto as they would fiat. And I think for them, it's their way to get ahead of the regulatory environment and say, hey guys, we're already handling it this way. We're helping people handle this way. So although we may be still in the Wild West. What we're doing, instead of it being the outlaws on the backs of horses, what we're doing is we're providing the wagons for the new settlers to come out and build an entire city.
We're the Pony Express. We're gonna get the packages. We're gonna get the money. You're gonna get the box from home with the cookies in it. You're gonna get all that. Yep. One thing I wouldn't want to point out is I wasn't trying to say that Stripe, had bad intentions or anything like that. They're a business. They are in the business of making money. That's what business is about. It's okay to make money, right? I don't remember. Maybe there's been some suits. Maybe there's been some bills that have been introduced or something, but I can't remember a whole lot of legislation or indictments or anything towards Stripe. Any kind of you got to come testify or anything like that. No. With Stripe, they've always done things like right down the center and always within the regulations and always within the confines of what's acceptable.
I don't know if I agree with that statement.
Okay.
And here's why. Is it just because they haven't been called on the carpet for behavior doesn't mean they're not doing it. I think what they've been really good at is that when somebody says, hey, this is questionable, they go, okay, cool, we'll clean that up before it becomes a problem.
And so I'm sure that's like everybody in the financial service business is pretty much runs on that model,
Yes, but there are a lot of folks who won't fix it and they wait until they're forced to. Yeah. Or the other way around, where they're so conservative that they never have the possibility or the opportunity to fall into that place, right?
Yeah, and Stripe is definitely. I'm going to take it beyond unicorn. They totally understand where finance is going. They're beyond unicorn status in my mind because and despite, any downfalls in their stock or anything recently, this is a company that is going to be around for a long, long time. This is not a fintech flash in the pan. This company is what's their market cap? They're almost trillions, aren't they? They're almost $1 trillion company. They're huge.
Yeah,
so this is not built on air. This is built on transactions. I mean, Amazon uses these guys. Apple uses these guys, I believe. A lot of big companies rely on Stripe for e-commerce checkout.
Yeah, so I think when looking at Stripe, they've done some really. They're trying to provide financial technology and support everything that a business would need, and their treasury product, which this is part of the global payments and treasury network. All of this Web3 stuff. And so I've been privileged enough to work with the financial institution numerous times on other projects that is actually powering the U.S. Treasury product for Stripe. And so, it's been really fun to watch how all of that transpires and how they look at things and the way they approach it. It's not super conservative, but it's also not very laissez-faire. It's more on the upper end of, like, when you say down the middle, I think they're a little bit above what is considered low risk, right? So they stretch it a little bit there, but they have a lot of big customers. They have a lot of customers. And I was trying to pull up their market cap, and for some reason I clicked on the wrong thing. And normally
I think it was
pops
90 billion, if I remember correctly.
I do not know why. Let's see what date this was. Yeah, see, this is like
it went down recently, but it was like 126 billion or something like that, and it's down to like 90 billion. Something. Sorry, sorry, you had that's the quote of the day that I took away from the deal book, the New York Times deal book with SBF. At one point, he said, "Listen, I've had a bad month here."
Okay.
I so feel for you. I'm so hurt. Where's my world's smallest violin? I'm looking for it.
Yeah, no lie. Oh man. Well, I'm having the hardest time finding their stock price. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure I'm right. I may be wrong. I sometimes go dyslexic on numbers, but I think it was like 126 billion, and it went down to 90 recently or something like that for their market cap. But I think it's a leading company that's kind of invisible to most consumers. Most people really don't even know who they are unless they're like, even if they're doing a small like e-commerce mom and pop shop or something like that, it's probably the first time that most consumers become aware of Stripe. You know what I mean? If they set up what's the Squarespace or something like that, one of those kind of deals. I don't think most people know who they are. I don't think they understand that it's a huge company that most people don't hear about.
Yeah, but the big piece that I look at this is that, we have huge companies like this that are continuing to go down the Web3 direction, right? So this, and kind of what I was saying was echoed in the article with Stripe as well. I agree with everything they said in there, but we've got so many things going on, and I can't help but think that we are headed to a much better place with crypto and blockchain. And I think people are starting to look and learn more about it. Now, mind you, the Stripe on-ramp is only available in the US. It is, really focused, excuse me, to simplify that experience. And they have a handful of partners that are already live with this, right? So you have Argent, Audius, Backpack, Fast AF, Fractal, Glow, Magic Eden, My Ether Wallet, Nifty's, Orca, Otter, PayMobile, Spot, Ultimate, Vinly. That list is just going to keep getting longer. But the part that I thought was really cool is that Stripe didn't say, hey, we're going to build our own product to liquidate and to convert. They're using zero hash to be the conversion point for fiat to crypto and the liquidation of crypto into fiat, which they also chose. And again, this is the down the middle path, following the rules by the book. Both of those companies are licensed in the state of New York to be liquidation services.
Wow.
And you've seen what New York has done with crypto, right? They've been very close. Like, you've got to be licensed. They're starting to put out licenses that you have to pay for.
Yeah, they shut down all the miners this last week, right? They're not allowing miners to. The miners apparently were going out and reigniting old power stations that were down, old generators and stuff like that, and using those. And the state didn't want that. One, it's unsafe, right? If a power station's been shut down, it's for a reason.
Yeah, well, because they were putting so much tax on the grid, right? And so now it's like you can only do this, and you have to get a license, so stating that you're only using renewable resources in order to do the mining. So it's going to be really cool. And I think
so. Chia is the only one that's going to be able to do it because theirs is like proof of storage, right?
Yeah.
But
but that's what's really cool about all of this, right? Is that we're talking about the transformation and the evolution of this piece, and then I really feel like we're in like the third pitch of the first inning of crypto and blockchain.
Like, oh yeah, we're on the
early.
threshold of a whole new era of financial services. I go back to it a lot, but in 2010, when I was first starting to do the social mobile payments, and I was first starting to write for Mobile Payments Today under James Wester and all that, right? My first piece was like, this is the decade we turn away from static ICT and turn to dynamic information at our fingertips, right? We're going to embrace mobile, right? We're turning away from desktop computers and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
That decade, I referred to it as Generation M. This decade, I'm going to refer to Generation D for dynamic payments, right? This is going to be the decade where I'm not going to say abandon and turn away from, but where we morph, a chrysalis of cash, a chrysalis of currency is going to occur in this decade, where we replace that old standard sawbuck with a new digital sawbuck, and in many different forms, and almost any form that, and you'll be able to transform it from one form to another form without a whole lot of hassle. And I think that's only going to be possible through what these guys are doing, not Stripe specifically, but all these guys generally, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to take it a little bit further than what you're talking
than a
about.
Chrysalis?
Well, so you're dynamic, I think is a good word, but I'm going to push the boundary here, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I think you're right in saying this is Generation D. I think this is Generation Decentralization. I think you're going to see where we are decentralizing the identity of individuals and being able to share that identity across multiple different places in a way that doesn't require us to show 5 proofs of, like, you're not going to have to do like the I-9 form anymore for the U.S.
Yeah,
like you'll just
the cop's not going to see license and registration when he pulls you over anymore. He's going to scan your car and he's going to know who you are. You know what I mean?
Then when he comes up, you're going to have to give him like a QR code to scan, or you'll give him, you'll ask you for your license, and instead of him looking at the license, you'll just scan it.
Yep.
And you'll be able to validate. Like, there's so many things.
Yeah. Arizona's on the Apple license program, aren't they? Aren't you guys on the Apple license program already? Yeah. Florida's about to be. We're in the line to do it. So you got yours?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In your phone, right? And so they're working with the Department of Transportation or whatever in the state, whatever, Department of Motor Vehicles, whoever does driver's license in that state. Apple's working directly with them, and they actually laid down mandates of we want to have X person that's a point of contact that has all this, and we're going to work with that person directly. And they pretty much told the states how it was going to go if the states wanted to, participate in a program with Apple. And kudos to them for that. There it is.
So hopefully you can see it, but.
Oh, okay. You got the cactus on there, and what's on it? It's a little fuzzy on this end because of the rundown on the recording. Oh,
yeah.
But
yeah. So if you guys take a look at it now, you guys get to see what my legal name is. There you go. Have fun.
Teddy H. Teddy.
Yeah. So it has a cactus.
That's the name of the Pomeranian that's Dee Dee and family adopted. Also.
Hey, there you go.
There you go.
So it's got a cactus, it's got the red rocks, it's got the seal in the lower right-hand corner, but it doesn't show any of my sensitive information, which is super important. There's
no back of that card, right? You can't display a back of that card?
No, but what you can do, and I'm not going to show this, but see that little button in there where it says show driver's license ID? If you click on driver's license info, if you click on that, it'll show everything.
Okay.
But when you go to the airport, you don't do that. You actually, it's contactless. You tap it and it pulls the info.
Wow.
If you have a police officer,
So it's
you
data
tap it.
also. It's not just an image. It's data also.
No. Yeah. So you're able to transfer that.
And it's
so
transmitting NFC via NFC is how it's
Yes.
doing it, or is it
Yes.
AirPlay?
It's NFC. So it's super cool. And so like in my mind, I'm like, so why don't we have that on the chain? And because then on my phone, it literally like it has my photo, it has all that stuff. So if I tap it and it's on the chain, they can verify that is really me. And then it pops on their side and it shows all of the stuff on there.
So that's integrated. It's deeply integrated. Then it's deeply integrated into the systems and deeply integrated into the phone itself. It's
dude. I've got so many ideas around how to use blockchain. It's just like I'm just
don't you think Apple's
it.
keychain essentially is a blockchain? I mean, kind of.
It's kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's encrypted. It's got its own tokens. It's across devices. So in theory, yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
I think with them moving into, and we're going off on a different tangent, but I think with Apple moving into hide my email, going into create secure password, going into no password required type models, they're getting closer to it.
A Web3 kind of identity where you insert your identity when you arrive at the social network. That concept, right?
Yeah, like Jack's building, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's to me with what Apple's the way they keep. I'm going to call it stitches, where they're stitching a waistband on a pair of pants, right? They keep just adding another stitch. Oh, okay, so now we did these cryptocurrency rules, right? Now we're doing the driver's license thing. All these little elements, just like all the little elements that were added to your devices as updates happened, right? And suddenly your iPhone, like I'm using right now, suddenly my iPhone works as a better camera than my web camera does. And I have a fantastic picture today, thanks to Apple's new continuity camera, which is a very recent update. If they keep updating fintech like they're updating their devices and how they work with each other, oh my God, Apple is going to be Apple is a strong fintech player at this point, but they're really going to be strong if they keep, especially as they start heading into, there was a report, 2 days ago, XR, extended reality or extreme reality. So it's not MR. They were saying MR for a while, but the name of the headset is something with XR in it. They're pushing the XR. It's extended reality, I think, is the thing.
Okay.
So they're not going for VR, right? You're not encapsulated and you're not blocked off from the world. It's you're sitting at home. But you're courtside at the Lakers game, right? And one of the players just went by in, the ball just dribbled and went by in. It was so hyper realistic, it wasn't even funny, right? It's going to be that kind of stuff. It's going to put you courtside. It's going to put you out on a deep sea fishing vessel. It's not going to, put you in an alternate cartoon reality. I don't think,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think it's going to be different.
So 3 or 4 years ago at Money 2020, they had a huge thing around VR, and it wasn't the Web3 type VR we're talking about. It's like you could be in a one-on-one concert with Eric Clapton, where he's sitting in front of you, and you've got the headphones on, you got the visuals on, you're sitting at home, but you feel like you're sitting in a chair across from Eric Clapton singing to you. That whole experiential piece of it. And while you're in there, you could buy more songs for him to sing. And it was
like
really cool,
like a cameo, but in the metaverse, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's just so much stuff that's going to be going on around that.
Now, do you think that would be individualized where Eric's actually on the other end on some kind of prompter, or do you think it's going to be AI where Eric goes, "Hi, Bruce Burke," in a mechanical voice, right? And it's AI.
I think here's the funny part is I think it's going to be a little bit of both, right? So because the technology has gotten so good at just imagine doing like a deep fake type thing. I mean, if you watched American Idol, I think, or was it American Idol? Or was it America's Got Talent? Right?
I think it was Masked Singer instead of American Idol. I think it was.
No. America's Got Talent. America's Got Talent.
That was what it was. Yep.
And they had the videos where the people were singing, but you thought you were seeing like Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
And you thought you were seeing other people, and it was hyper realistic. So what's wrong with them figuring out a way? And then now on top of that, there are technologies out there that can do, I'm going to call it overdub style voices that sound hyper realistic.
They deep-faked Zuckerberg this week. I don't know if you saw that story. They deep-faked Zuckerberg for a crypto. Hi, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. You should invest in Zcoin, right? And buy now. And it went out there, and man, it was all over the place, and it was good. It wasn't, it wasn't discernible hardly at all for most people, that are, looking out on most devices with most attention spans. It was very, it's scary. It's scary now. It's funny. I was watching Didi's follow-up video to the story, right? And one thing he's got across the bottom of his screen the whole time it's playing is there's a thing. It's like scammers in the comments. Only click. Only look at our thing. There's a lot of people that will fake up. I'm Didi. Hey, hey, bro, you want? Send me your address. Send me your wallet address, and I'll drop you 10 coins or something like that. It's so prevalent on YouTube now that he has to put that as a chyron across the bottom of his screen the whole time the video's playing.
Isn't that sad?
It's like, don't these people have anything better to do? Apparently not. I guess they're like a Somalian pirate, trying to get a ship because there's nothing in the country, right? I mean, it's, trying to stay alive.
So I finally found it. God, I can't believe it was that hard. Stripe. So right now, this July, they slashed their valuation to $95 billion, which is 28% less than what it had been the quarter before.
And don't forget, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, they also at the same time laid off like 11% of the staff. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But they also indicated in that some of that 11% was like future hires that they had planned on hiring, going into this next year and stuff like that. So I don't think they really they weren't involved in this stuff. They were facilitating payments and all that kind of stuff for people, but they weren't really involved in. I mean, it's more people taking money out. That's good for Stripe, right? I mean, bank runs are good for processors. They
weren't publicly involved, right? So that's how I would describe it, because we know that if they just launched all of this Web3 stuff, that they were involved in some way, shape, or form, working on all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And again, like we talked about, them having access to the Hill and understanding Capitol Hill and understanding where they're going, that may have been a major change for them and being part of that big layoff process. I know they said they overhired. Well, maybe they did overhire because they thought they were going to be able to do something, and they see with regulatory environments starting to change, and now they're not able to do that. But I'm purely speculating. None of this is financial advice. I apologize for anybody that may feel that way. But Bruce, we've talked about so much today. Man, what do you think we're going to start to see next week? Like, is it going to be more happy stuff? I'm feeling like there's going to be more positive stuff coming out.
There's definitely a turnaround. There even seems to be in the media, even if you look at like both the interviews with Sam, I watched both the Deal Book and George Stephanopoulos from ABC. Both of them, when they first started, felt like they were lobbing him softballs, like, the softest softball, like way underhand, like, here you go, Sam, here's a question for you, and he would dither about it for a while. But it seems like there's like like I said, a PSA, a public service announcement going on about crypto. Hey, you want to get away from the centralization. You want to get away from the centralized exchange. You want to go to a decentralized exchange or a cold wallet. Hey, this is for a reason. This is for your protection, right? Don't believe the hype. Mm-hmm. And it also seems to say, like, I put a poll up I think I did it Saturday morning, or maybe it was Friday morning on LinkedIn. I still believe in cryptocurrency. Yes or no? I put it up for 24 hours. It came out a little bit above for no. It was like a 42 to 58 or something like that. You know what I mean? To the negative. But a lot of the people several people that commented kind of indicated that they didn't believe in it to begin with, right? So the margin of error there was like a 2% that voted the option. But I think that let's kind of grab ourselves by our bootstraps again. Let's not make the same mistakes we did before. Yep. And let's move forward smarter than we started.
Yep. No, I agree. I think it's definitely headed in the right direction. As I mentioned before, I'm still very bullish on it. I think that we're just at the beginning. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, thank you, everybody. If you've made it this far to the end, I appreciate it. As always, go watch Fintech Confidential. The handle there is at Fintech Confidential on YouTube. You can also reach us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff. You can reach us there. And if you are looking to be a guest on Fintech Confidential, go ahead and reach out to us. We've got a couple links to that as well on the site. So just reach out, let us know. And Bruce, man, what do you got going on?
Ted, I've got the same thing going on. I want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, hit all the buttons, hit all the bells, make your machine ring and ding and everything else. My YouTube handle, personally, is at Bruce Burke. That's BruceBurke on the end. And on most of the other social media platforms, I'm Bruce Q Burke. If you have any need for a video for your organization, short form, long form, please feel reach out to me. And Bulletins currently has some opportunities for both long and short form videos. We're going to be doing some hyper focused longer form videos coming up, in addition to sponsorship of our standard episodes. As always, I want to thank Tedd Huff for his involvement and discussion and patience and everything else in all this. We're doing a lot of stuff together. Stay tuned to us, because you're going to seeing a lot more of us in the days and weeks to come. We're going into 2023. 2023 is coming up around the corner. We're going to be doing a special Christmas show soon. We'll be putting up the lights and hanging out with some candy canes and whatnot. So stay tuned, everyone. I look forward to making more episodes and getting even more deeply involved with this.
So one of the things I forgot to mention is if you want to get email notifications about all the episodes, please sign up at access.fintechconfidential.com, and you'll get notified via email whenever we launch something new. So thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, Ted. Have a great day.